House Guest, the 27th episode of Steven Universe, chronologically speaking. First of all, there will be spoilers in this review, obviously. Second of all, I want to point out that this is actually the second time I've done this review. I actually recorded this and the second review that's going to be up today, intending to post them both yesterday. I recorded them yesterday. And for whatever reason, and this has never happened before, and hopefully it doesn't happen again, because if it persists, I have no idea how to fix it. But when I was transferring the files over from my camera to my computer, they got corrupted. No idea how, and at that point it was already late enough in the evening, I didn't want to do the reviews again. So here I am doing them today. Which, if it seems like I'm not as enthusiastic about these reviews as I am about most of my reviews, that's why. It's because I've literally already done them once, and I'm not really in the mood to do them again, but I do want to get them out for you guys. So, here we go. This episode in particular is one that I'm not particularly excited about reviewing twice in my lifetime, because, well, it's not a bad episode or anything. It's not technically a good episode either. It's kind of an okay episode. We learned a couple of interesting things. We get an interesting piece of gem tech, a good emotional story, I guess. Otherwise, though, especially coming off of Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, this is not the strongest episode that it could possibly be. The plot of this episode is the Gems are cleaning up the consequences of their battle with Lapis Lazuli. Greg's van is a wreck, and that's where he lives. He kind of needs it. And Greg himself was injured in the fight, and now he has a broken leg. So as Pearl is fixing the van, Greg suggests that he actually come and live with them for a while, and he seems kind of excited about it. He seems excited about the prospect of getting to live with his son again. But Pearl insists that no, there's no need for anybody to live with anybody. Steven can use his healing power to fix Greg's leg, and she can fix the van, and no one needs to live with them. Actually, I think it was Amethyst who suggested he could fix the leg, but whatever. They remind him that he has healing powers now. So he tries his healing powers on Greg's broken leg, and it doesn't work. And you can immediately see that Steven is taken aback by this. He expected it to work, and now he's second-guessing himself. But Greg is excited because he gets to live with his son for a while now, until he recovers. Steven insists. So Greg is now living in Steven's house in front of the temple with Steven, and we jump right into this musical montage of them doing stuff together, and this is the only song in the entire run of the show that I don't like at least a little bit. Not that it's technically bad, it's just I don't feel like Greg and Steven's voices mesh all that well together, especially in this instance. It just felt like they weren't really doing their best. I really dislike the melody. I really dislike how they chose to arrange the melody in this song. And while I think it's touching that the two of them get to do something musical together because they both are musical people, and I do like that they're getting to spend more time together and getting to live together again after several years, I don't like the song itself, and it kind of brings my opinion of the episode down a little bit, even though it shouldn't. That's not really fair, but I can't help how my emotions affect my opinion. Moving right into the plot of the episode, because this episode does have a gem-related plot. Something called the Geode has fractured, and everyone, including Amethyst, is incredibly worried about this. So you know it's got to be a big deal. And I'm not going to speculate about the Geode here, because I have a video coming up in just a couple weeks about what I think the Geode is and what its purpose is. So I'm going to skip that. Anyway, the Gems realize they have to repair the Geode. It contains an artificial storm that, if released, will vaporize their bodies, and whether that just means gem bodies or human bodies as well, we never find out. We never find out much about the storm or the Geode. But for whatever reason, they recognize that this would be a very dangerous thing. They try to get Steven to heal the Geode with his healing spit, but it doesn't work. And while all this is going on, Greg is back at the house by himself, and they've given him something called a warp whistle, so that he can send a signal through the warp. It activates the warp just long enough to send some sound through, so that they'll know if he needs them for something. And he's activated it several times already for these little mundane things, and Steven continues to insist that they're important things. I feel like he's kind of in denial here. Either that, or he just thinks a lot like his dad. Point is, Greg, despite having just been on a really important mission with the Gems, doesn't seem to want to believe that the mission they're on now is important and is taking it very, very lightly. I don't quite get that. But anyway, they return to the house, and the girls go inside the temple. They want to look into other alternatives for repairing the Geode, and Steven decides he's going to go get some donuts. But he steps back into the house momentarily, and he sees his dad walking around on the broken leg. And he realizes that his dad lied to him so that they could spend more time together. And granted, as soon as he finds out that lying to Steven caused him to second-guess himself and hurt his abilities, he is immediately repentant. he didn't know that that's what was going to happen. He doesn't realize it. In fact, the gems don't really seem to realize either that the effectiveness of Steven's powers comes from his subconscious, from the way that he views himself and those powers, and making him second-guess himself. That has affected him psychologically, and now he can't heal stuff right now. And Steven gets mad. He's mad that his father lied to him. He storms out, and he starts to rant about how this has affected him and his abilities, but then he realizes, no, I understand why Dad did this. He just wanted to spend time with me. He loves me. He didn't mean it. He goes back in to apologize. And Greg is standing on the warp pad with the warp whistle. He intends to use the warp whistle to transport himself to the geode and try to fix it himself. Steven follows him, obviously, because this is incredibly dangerous. They have a little bit of a talk. Steven wonders maybe if his powers are fixed now that they've worked things out. He tries again to heal the geode, but it doesn't work. So Greg uses duct tape to fix it. And he declares it almost as good as new. And that's what the entire episode was building up to, comedically speaking, was a gag about how duct tape could fix anything. Because they had made the same gag earlier when Pearl was trying to fix the van at the very beginning of the episode. And quite frankly, I think the episode would have been stronger if they had removed that aspect completely and made it just about the emotional issues and forgone the comedy angle completely. But I also see, from a writing perspective, why the writers wouldn't want Steven to have access to his healing powers right now, because it does make him very powerful and it does solve a lot of problems. And there's just going to be more interesting conflicts that they can write if he doesn't have that ability consistently. Therefore, you need something to fix the geode, therefore the duct tape gag. Anyway, they go back home. They declare that the geode is mostly fixed. Greg's van is now fixed. He says it looks better than it ever has. And he goes home. Steven goes home. And Greg is actually right now staying out on the beach in his van. Which, why doesn't he do that in the first place? If he wants to see his son more, why not just do that? I don't get it, but whatever. This episode, it's not bad, like I said. It's just not great either. And coming off of Ocean Gem, I would have expected something better. Especially something with a more consistent tone that feels more meaningful. We do, however, get the geode, as I mentioned, and we do get the warp whistle, which I think is very cool. And it's further evidence to really solidify the fact that Rose and her crystal gems, probably at the time of the war, most likely at the time of the war, had a relatively large number of human allies, because gems can activate the warps with their mind. There is very little reason for this thing to exist unless it was for use by humans. And that's really all I have to say about this episode. There's not a whole lot more to analyze here. I've gone over all the emotional stuff as I was giving the summation. And hey, I'm all for episodes that prominently feature Greg. I do enjoy his character. But guys, what did you think of this episode? If you've seen it, let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys